Thank you for choosing to click on this video. And since you've done that, I know you're an Indian pop music lover, a Bollywood lover, and maybe a musician yourself. Welcome to my channel. As we all know, there has been a recent upsurge in the number of concerts, and not just the number, but even the hype related to them, the preparations that go into the concerts, the grandiosity, and of course, the audience's enthusiasm towards the concert. The concert scene in India is actually buzzing. And amongst this bubbling concert scene, there has been a really good tadka with the Coldplay concerts. The effort put into the Coldplay concert by the band and the organization was very well received by the audiences. Everybody seemed to have the time of their lives. And amongst this, there has been one person who's been receiving a lot of flack, and we all know who that is. Yes, the Jasleen Royal performance. Jasleen was opening for the Coldplay concert in Mumbai, and the performance was totally out of tune. You all might have come across these clips. And well, rightfully so. But this video is not about Jasleen Royal. This is rather about the environment, the setup, the system which leads to these kind of incidences. Of course, I'll be mentioning her and maybe taking facets from what had happened. But this is not truly about Jasleen Royal, her ability as a singer, or just her as a person. So if you deep dive into the criticism itself, she is not just being criticized for delivering a performance that was off pitch, but also about her attitude. She was probably chewing something, as some users mentioned, and she totally looked uninterested or just simply careless. Under normal circumstances, it was quite okay. It might just be that she receives a flag for not being a professional artist or not delivering what she's supposed to deliver. But here, rather, it reflects poorly on the country because this was an opening act for India. An artist chosen by the Indian industry was supposed to represent India in front of Coldplay and maybe international audiences. So this was rather our way of showing an international band the talent that we have in India or the prolificity with performance that we have in India. So it reflects poorly on the country and the music scene itself rather than just on the artist. And hence there was so much of uproar. And maybe I'm a bit empathetic about her. Had this been not a Coldplay concert, we could have easily excused her as maybe somebody who's not trained enough. Maybe she was having a bad day or some other reason. A large majority of the videos on the internet have been talking about the politics that goes around as to who gets chosen to open the act for India. Everybody is suggesting alternate names, and I'm pretty sure there are definitely more deserving and more prepared people, probably more enthusiastic also, who could have delivered this act much better and brought pride to this country. But here, I am not talking about Jasleen Royal, the artist, or even the politics that goes on in the country or in the music scene. This one is rather about the large system in itself. Now, if you notice, Jasleen Royal is not actually primarily a singer. She's a songwriter, a composer. All her songs have been composed by herself, and she has also had other people sing her songs with her in the duet. This is a very big deal because historically we have not had many women composers. Barring, let's say, an Usha Khanna back in the day when Lata Mangeshkar and Kishore Kumar used to function, we have largely not had any female composers in the last 60 years. They have been far and few in between. And maybe apart from 2 or 3 names, the mainstream Bollywood Hindi music hasn't had a female composer. She is in the A-League, in the mainstream Bollywood composition. That in itself is a very big achievement. Now, if you look back, even the male composers these days have been forced to a composer is not always required to be a performer. So what happens is when you start doing music, you will start with something in music. Either you will play an instrument, you will produce music, you will sing, you will do something. And that activity will put you into the composition mode. So in general, the composer would either be an instrument player, a singer, or a producer, meaning somebody who programs things on the computer. So you are never actually just a composer. You're either a composer producer, a composer singer, or a singer songwriter, or maybe an instrumentalist and a composer. So a composer is not just a composer, but that does not mean that he's a performing composer. I consider Jasleen as primarily as a composer and a singer. So she's primarily a composer, a secondarily a singer. I have the highest regard for the composer. If you compare music with filming, the film will always have a writer who would have thought out the film in his head. He would have put that all down on a paper, and that's when the director comes in, the actors come in, and the rest of the machinery comes in to bring into life. In a similar way, a composer in music is someone who has actually created, imagined the thing in his head first, and rest of the people, the producers, instrumentalists, singers, etc., are simply bringing in that vision to life. So for me, primarily the song has two parents, the composer and the lyricist. Even amongst that, I would say a composer is akin to a mother, while the lyricist is akin to a father. So to put it simply, the composer actually makes the melody, while the lyricist writes the lyrics. Now, so many times you have seen that the songs get remixed, right? And the lyrics change. But that doesn't change the song. If you are humming a song, it still remains that song. So the thing is that the basic structure of the song is the composition. The lyrics are interchangeable. Some of you might argue that the title of the song is given by the words that they have written, but that's not important. The composer can actually name the song whatever he likes. Composition number 1, 2, 3 can also be a song. But essentially what makes a song is the composition that is beneath it. Even if you keep the lyrics the same and you change the composition, the song essentially changes, even though the name of the song remains maybe the same. So, composer is someone who can birth a child without the father, just like the mother. You don't always need a father to birth the child. So that's how I like to look at it. That's why also in my videos, you would always see, if I'm covering something in my long form video, I would always have the title of the song, and beneath it will not be the name of the singer, but will be the name of the composer, because that's who essentially has created the song. Also, back in the day, composers did not used to perform as much. Now, the way the industry is working is that you mainly get paid for the performance of music, that is doing the live shows. The other streams of income, that is your Spotify streaming or any such streaming services, is revenue, or your upfront payment as the payment made to you for creating the music by the producer of a film is very, very less. If you are doing some kind of work which is at a certain level, you would want to be monetarily compensated for it. Because that thing does not exist, almost every composer in India right now has to perform. So if you see like all the top Bollywood composers, from Amit Trivedi to Sachin Jigar to Shankar Ahsan Roy to name it anybody, has been performing. The composer's main job actually is to think music, to outline music, to direct music. They may not be the best performer. And mind you, it's also taken away the time from their composition, from their thinking when they go tour around and perform so much. A lot of composers actually would rather choose to be in the studio and create music rather than doing the performance aspect of it, which if you see is not a truly creative task. Compare it with the film writers. Writers are the ones who actually think through the film. They would think about each and every scene that is being performed. the broader storyline, and everything that you see on the screen has been put down on paper by the writer. So it is actually in the writer's head that the film got created, and the rest of the people, say the director, actor, cinematographer, or all the film crew, is basically just bringing the writer's vision into life, or rather executing his vision. So primarily, the mother of a film is actually a writer. Similarly, the mother of the music is actually the composer. But the writers in the film space are not required to perform in order to earn money because they're paid well. I mean, maybe not as much as they should, but primarily enough to sustain themselves in a certain way. While for composers, because they are not paid well, not just in monetary values, but also in terms of recognition, they have to perform. How many of you actually know the composers of the song that you already like? One just doesn't do the work even for money. People also work for recognition. If they are not getting recognized as creators of something, they will have to resort to other things in order to be recognized. And even fame. I would even rather extend this argument to the singers. If you compare a singer with what is an actor in the film space, we have easily done away with the theater actor, right? Almost none of the film actors actually perform live, that is to do theater. But almost all singers are required to perform live. There is a very big difference in between performing live and doing something in the recording. In the acting space, the theater is almost on the margins. And nobody actually questions the ability of the actor simply because their performance is quote unquote recorded. The aspect of recording is not just about using auto-tune or not. It simply just isn't that. Even if you take out the auto-tune, the performance delivered in a recording studio is very different. Also, the fact that you must notice that a lot of artists like to create in isolation. They like to experience art in isolation as well. Think of your favorite painter. The painter does not have to actually record himself painting in order to prove that he has made the painting. In a similar way, just for a singer to prove that he can sing, he doesn't always have to do the live shows. So I believe the audience shouldn't be thinking, or even society in general shouldn't be thinking like they are testing the singers while they're performing live. It's just a matter of who they choose to be. It's just that we are probably not open-minded enough when it comes to music as compared to the visual arts. So primarily, I would say singers also like to divide themselves as performing artists and recording artists. Think of so many things which cannot be actually done live. A lot of singers actually earn their living by singing ad jingles, for example, or doing voiceovers. Those are the things you can't actually do live, but that is still art, that is still creation. So why so for a song? Also, if you look at it closely, our singers have always been the playback singers. They have not been anyways too much concentrated about the live performance. Yes, they would have been delivering things right on pitch, right on time, but they weren't really engaging with the audience as much. They were not truly performers, if you say, in that respect, but they were great singers. Just because you cannot see that an autotune has been used in the recording or not, you do not have to expect the singer to be a great live performer or even be a live performer for that matter. One can totally be a really good singer and a very honest singer, a very truthful singer by just spending time in his riyaz room and the studio, and they don't actually have to perform live. And we as a society probably have to open up and recognize them as artists too, and not fall for the fame and the shosha of things. So many instrumentalists also are not actually stage performers. They are really good instrumentalists, but they only play in the recording studios. And there is no autotune for them, right? So that is pretty much accepted. So coming back to Jasleen Royal, I think she's also a breed of a lot of musicians who are actually the creators of music, who are not actually the performers. A lot of people who want to come into music want to be singers because those are the people who have all the fame, the recognition, the money, and all the glamour that there is. So essentially, it doesn't make me think less of Jasleen Royal as an artist. She's a very good composer. She has been delivering hits after hits, being a woman. She is maybe not the greatest of the singer, but she is good in the recording at least. She's maybe not the greatest of the live performer. Maybe she's not a live performer at all, but she's a good musician. And we need to understand the fact that there can be really good musicians who are not good live performers. Just like there are really good actors who are really good on camera, but they are not good at theater. Let me know what you think about this. Are we really very strict on musical people rather than what we are with acting or any other visual art?